Hello, and welcome to Discovery High School's virtual graduation ceremony. These are certainly unusual times, and the level of uncertainty that you have been faced with during the spring of your senior year has most likely been very unsettling and certainly has not been easy. But acknowledging the accomplishments of the class of 2020 is something that is extremely important to our school system and to our school. We are grateful to at least be able to celebrate you in this way today. It is my honor to introduce remarks by District 2 School Board member Mr. Steve Knudsen, who joined the Gwinnett County School Board in January of 2019, and from our CEO Superintendent, Mr. J. Alvin Wilbanks. Mr. Wilbanks has led Gwinnett County Public Schools since 1996. During his tenure, he has guided our schools through many challenging times, including the most recent and unprecedented closing of school buildings because of this pandemic. You will also hear from two amazing young women, valedictorian Cindy Ho and salutatorian Jedida Titus, who will share their parting reflections for the class of 2020. And your class of 2020 inspiration will be provided by Adam Shamsi. During this Memorial Day week, we acknowledge our courageous veterans and active duty military who serve our nation, and we pause to remember those heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. We also want to thank the many Americans who are currently providing assistance and support during the COVID-19 pandemic. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag, led by your classmate, Nak Lee, followed by the singing of our national anthem.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America.
The United States of America.
And to the republic
for which it stands.
One nation.
One nation.
One nation. Under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty and justice.
With liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Of the brave.
Congratulations, class of 2020. You did it. In spite of all the challenges thrown at you in your final semester of high school, you made it to the finish line. 2020 is a term used for perfect sight, but you've also heard that only hindsight is 2020. Well, today I want to challenge you to learn a lesson that I learned during a time of crisis in my life. I was a young parent and we had just finished dinner with our two toddlers. As my wife took the kids to get a bath, I cleaned up the kitchen. When I finished, as I left the sparklingly clean kitchen, I turned on a crockery for potpourri on the stove that when heated would produce a wonderful aroma. Anticipating a Husband of the Year award, I headed to the bath to help with the kids. After a few minutes of helping, my wife asked me if I was making popcorn. That was not the aroma I was expecting, and as I walked back into the kitchen, the stove was on fire. I had mistakenly turned on the wrong burner and set a pan of oil on fire. I turned to the sink to get some water to put out the fire when my wife entered the kitchen and reminded me that water would only cause the fire to explode. We needed flour or salt to smother the fire. Well, where was the flour and salt? In the cupboard above the stove, which was now on fire. My wife realized this could be serious, called 911, got a busy signal, and so she ran to get the kids out of the house. I could see that if I turned the burner off, that should help. The flames began to subside, but the smoke was billowing and my mind was racing. I thought that the only option was to remove the source of the fire from the house. We had a concrete patio just off the kitchen, and I knew that the concrete wouldn't burn, so that was my answer. I opened the sliding glass door and went back for the pan. Well, having placed the kids in the safe hands of our neighbors, Shelley raced back to the kitchen to answer the returned 911 call. Unfortunately, she was coming in the way that I was heading out with the flaming pan of oil. Well, fortunately, having both been athletes with decent agility, she spun out of the way and I adjusted my path, avoiding burning my wife and getting the pan onto the patio. Crisis averted, kids safe, house saved, but there was collateral damage. That's when I realized that some of the oil had sloshed out of the pan onto my hand, leaving me with severe burns. Well, why do I tell you that story? I do so for 3 reasons. First, when in crisis, those that are faced with making decisions will not make perfect decisions. There are crises that can affect your safety, your finances, or many other things in your future. So take the time to think through the possible crises that you may be faced with, develop a plan, commit some time and effort to those plans, and maybe that crisis becomes more of an inconvenience. When our first responders are not responding to crisis, they're training to respond. If you fail to plan to fail. That is especially true in a crisis. Second, no matter how good your vision is, in a crisis, only your hindsight will be 20/20. After a crisis, you owe it to yourself to evaluate your response. Upon reflection about battling our kitchen fire, I realized a couple of things. Don't put the things that might smother a fire above the most probable place a fire might happen. Also, I realized that in the cabinet under the stove, there was a giant wok lid. If I had simply reached down, picked up that lid, placed it over the pan, it would have smothered the fire. Now, fortunately, we haven't had another kitchen fire, but we're more prepared if we do. And third, remember to be gracious after the crisis. The burn on my hand hurt like nothing I had ever experienced. I immediately submerged it in water. I said it wasn't that bad to the paramedics who had arrived, but after they left, when I would pull it out of the water, it felt like it was still on fire. My hand eventually healed, and you can hardly tell that it was ever burned. But I know it was burned. I can glance at my hand and see the subtle difference. It's more sensitive in the sun. It's a constant reminder to be gracious with people handling a crisis. My crisis experience half a lifetime ago has had a positive effect on me and hopefully those around me. 2020 is your kitchen fire. You now have a reminder that can inform you and help you the rest of your life. As you reflect on your graduation and the completion of your high school career, take the time to plan for what life will throw at you. Assess how you will handle what life brings your way, and most importantly, be gracious to those dealing with life's crises. I know that I appreciate the graciousness extended to me since the day of our kitchen fire. Congratulations, class of 2020. You're a part of history. I pray that it makes you better able to handle the crises of life as you reflect on your graduation and this final lesson taught during your GCPS career. God bless.
Seniors, I want to join the chorus of people congratulating you on your achievement. Shortly, you will be a high school graduate. You have earned this milestone that indicates you are ready for the next phase of your life. There are several reasons why the senior year is so important for high school seniors. It is a culminating experience for the previous 12 years of school most of you spent preparing for this moment. It is the time when your learning experiences are preparing you for the college or university you plan to attend. Perhaps it is the preparation for your choice of a job or additional preparation for a technical career you have selected. Or your choice may be service in the military after graduation. Whatever your choice after high school, your hard work over the past 13 years should have prepared you to be successful in the next phase of your life. Many things can be said about your senior year of high school. Perhaps the most memorable happening, yet the least desirable one, has been the COVID-19 pandemic that has impacted all of our lives and, yes, our world. This virus changed where and how you completed your senior year. Rather than at school, you experienced teaching and learning at home. I have yet to talk with anyone, a senior student, parent, or teacher, who preferred that situation rather than students being able to finish their senior year at school. The COVID-19 pandemic also caused several other changes that normally are occurring the latter part of your senior year. I asked a senior from another school, of course, to give me an indication of what he had missed due to the virus. His response included the following: our senior prom, the extracurricular activities that many of us would have participated in and enjoyed, the award banquets and the awards night where we would have received our academic and or athletic awards, the normal spring break trip to the beach, and for many of us, and listen at this one, senior skip day. It is absolutely no fun skipping home. And I thought his last response was profound, and one that I bet each of you would agree with. He said, most of all, I missed the daily interactions with my friends, classmates, teachers, and school staff for the last half of the semester when we could not attend school. Seniors, I bet you agree and appreciate that response from this young man. An old adage reminds us that sometimes life is filled with changes and challenges that can be brought about by things and happenings that we cannot prevent, like COVID-19 pandemic. Yet life goes on, and the plans you had made start of your senior year may have changed. However, most of your plans are probably the same and still possible, and I am sure you are preparing for them to take place. College, for instance, military service, or beginning a career. Your 13 years of schooling that you have completed should have prepared you for those plans. I know you join me in thanking your principal and the total administrative team, your teachers, counselors, and other school staff for their assistance in helping you get to this moment. Most of all, you want to thank your parents, other family members, and friends for their love, care, and assistance in helping you get to this stage in your life. Parents, you've done well. Your graduates will make you proud. On behalf of the Gwinnett County Board of Education and the administration of Gwinnett County Public Schools, we are proud of you and wish for you the best in all your life's endeavors. Godspeed.
Greetings, students, parents, teachers, and esteemed guests. Here we are at the future's edge. Daunting, isn't it? But before we venture into the mists of the future, I think it necessary we look back, because as George Santayana aptly noted, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. While that is the case for history on a larger scale, that is also true of ourselves. Looking back, I can remember the struggles of a 7 a.m. start time. Thank God that's over with. I remember the struggle of new faces and new places, and doubting whether or not this was the right place for me. I remember finding favor in the eyes of the teachers and working hard to earn their respect and the respect of my peers. I remember finding challenges in my classwork. I remember struggling and feeling defeated, but realizing I could overcome. I remember the feeling of triumph when I aced a test I thought I failed, or I rebounded from a particularly rough unit, or learned from a peer feedback. I remember hanging out with friends as we prepared for AP exams and after-school sessions, and cracked jokes about the tension we were feeling, and commiserated. I remember the electricity coursing through the air as I prepared for concerts with my friends in the choir program. As nerves were high and spirits higher, we were going to see our work come to fruition, and we would be exhausted yet relieved. I remember so many classes where I ended up laughing so hard over something said to the point that I couldn't work with a straight face. I remember after-school clubs as I communed with like-minded people of faith, scholars, musicians, and leaders. While each person's high school experience was unique to them, I hope that the bulk of memories made were happy, and that you wouldn't trade your experiences here for anything in the world, because I know I wouldn't. We have walked through the fires. We have struggled in our schoolwork, in our interpersonal relationships. We have melted down and lost hope. We have lost perspective as we grew angry at a virus for stealing our senior years, but may have forgotten that we weren't the only ones that lost things to the virus, as some lost livelihoods and others lost lives. We have lost sight of the future and wondered what it was that drove us to work as hard as we did. We wondered, what were we fighting for? But this day is the culmination of our hopes, our dreams, our struggles, our failures, our efforts. We gather here and celebrate the end of a chapter. We gather here and give thanks for our survival. Standing here, looking into the sunrises of our new frontiers, can you say what you experienced was valuable? Can you look back and say, all I went through was worth it? Because I can. My experiences changed me and made me a better person. However, we mustn't get tangled up in the happy memories of this place. Just as there is a danger in forgetting our pasts, there is a danger in trying to relive it and hold on to it too tightly. We cannot reset the clocks and re-experience high school. These weren't our glory days. This place was a proving ground where we were tested, tried, and prepared for the world outside these walls. At some point of time, we must grow up. We must move on. We must find our place in the world. If we spend too much time looking back, we might miss out on the good things around us, and we would regret that later. So I would like to close by telling the graduates this, with one final glance to the place you came, and thank yous to all those who have helped you, like family, friends, teachers, faculty, and staff. Hold on to the memories you have made and the values you have gained, and reach out in front of you to take hold of your vision of the future. Thank you for your time.
I fantasized about giving this speech for a long time, but I didn't really know where to start. So I asked my mom to tell me a story. Back in the 3rd grade, it had snowed one night, and by dawn, the ground was covered with 4 inches of ice. It was 7 a.m., and I stood with my backpack strapped on, waiting for the school bus to come. My mom told me, "Sweetie, I don't think there's any school today." And I remember I absolutely refused to believe her. So I stood there for a whole nother hour. When I think back about that moment, I feel so embarrassed. Like, what person in their right mind would rather go to school than stay at home and play in the snow? But honestly, I have to thank 3rd grade me because she's helped me become who I am today. She was a testament of my passion for learning and my constant strive for a better future. No matter how much our dreams might have changed since we were little kids, today we're one step closer to making them come true. When we first walked through the doors of Discovery as a bunch of cringy 14-year-olds, I know we were all either really excited to start high school or we dreaded the thought of having to wake up at 6 in the morning. But now, every time I walk through those doors, I'm reminded of how proud I am to call Discovery my second home, my family of proud Titans. I will never forget all of the amazing events I've attended, from football games to dance and theater shows, to performing at International Night, to watching Black History Month, and everything else that's allowed me to meet all these new people and bond even more with those I already knew. And I can never forget about the time I spent learning how to do TikTok dances and all that other foolishness. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like we've been at the short end of the stick a lot. We were the class that got redistricted right before our last year in middle school. We were the class that had to take our 2020 senior photo in the gym because it was raining outside. And we were the class that had to deal with this sudden and apocalyptic pandemic. It was honestly kind of terrifying to think about how we wouldn't be able to see our friends again, or how we'd have to graduate through a giant Zoom call. No cap or gown. But through it all, we've continuously managed to overcome those hurdles. All the challenges and circumstances that we've faced for the past 17 to 18 years never defined what we were capable of. We seized every opportunity and made the best of it. Personally, it is such an honor and a privilege for me to be here. My mom never even got the chance to go to high school, let alone finish it. So it makes me extremely happy that I can make her proud. I'm also immensely grateful for everything else I've experienced thus far. I know I definitely didn't get here through sheer intellect or talent, and these past 4 years have not been easy. So I would really like to thank all the friends, family, teachers, and advisors who have supported me through this journey. Thank you for being there for me, being my role models, and constantly challenging me. Thank you for laughing with me and holding my hand whenever I broke down and cried. Thank you for being the reason I get out of bed every morning thinking that today is going to be better than the last. As a class of 2020, there's no doubt we've heard the phrase 2020 vision more times than I can count. Honestly, I don't think I'm the most qualified person to tell you about this vision. I'm not a fortune teller, and without my glasses, I probably couldn't even see any of you. But I have been contemplating what that vision means. Does it necessarily have to mean we know exactly how the future is destined to be? Probably not. Maybe it's more about keeping our eyes open to the possibilities. Maybe it's more about seeking rather than seeing. I hope we can all use that vision to become someone that our third grade selves would be proud of. I wish you all the best of luck, and congratulations, my class of 2020.
Class of 2020. What do I say to my amazing Titans who I haven't seen in over 2 months, who are graduating under some of the most unusual circumstances that any of us have ever experienced, who may feel they have been cheated out of many of their earned rites of passage, and who would be right? How do I acknowledge those losses without dwelling on them? How do we prevent the focus of this day and this event from being on loss and instead be focused on hope for the future? As human beings, there are so many qualities that are worth striving for: honesty, integrity, kindness, compassion, empathy, selflessness, joyfulness, gratitude. But given your specific and unique circumstance, I want to focus on resilience. Elizabeth Edwards said, "Resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it, you can do nothing but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that's good." There's plenty of bad that we can focus on in our current situation. So I challenge you to put together something that's good from all of this. My hope is that we will emerge from this pandemic with a little more humility, with a little more humanity, with a little more appreciation for the freedoms that we may have been taking for granted before all of this happened, that we emerge with a greater sense of community spirit and pride, with an understanding that sometimes we have to do things that may not benefit us directly, but need to be done for the greater good. I hope that we emerge with a craving for human interaction, that we realize that as wonderful as technology is, that it doesn't replace personal interaction, face-to-face conversation or laughter with our friends. I hope we've missed that interaction so much that we actually put our phones down at the dinner table or at the cafeteria table and talk to each other. My hope is that we all come out of this current pandemic a little wiser, a little less self-centered, and a little more resilient. Class of 2020, you have demonstrated a high level of resilience by not allowing your current situation to prevent you from reaching one of life's most significant milestones. So on behalf of the Gwinnett County Board of Education, I verify that all qualifications of Gwinnett County Public Schools and the state of Georgia have been met. Therefore, I authorize the release of these diplomas to the graduating class of 2020 at Discovery High School.
Good afternoon, family, faculty, and members of the class of 2020. 2020, a class with vision. This is meant to be a mantra that we could chant proudly. Yet, as the past few weeks have occurred, this line seems deeply ironic. We were supposed to be a class with vision, but we were all blindsided by what has happened. Suddenly, all of our plans of going to concerts, conventions, and parties were canceled. In the past few months, we've had to reevaluate what human connection means to us. When reevaluating this question for myself, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about the people at Discovery. 4 years ago, we entered high school as completely different people, physically, socially, and emotionally. We have learned so much from each other and grown because of it. We have faced challenges and stood by each other through thick and thin. There is no other class that could have handled events like us. All of our experiences have prepared us for this very moment. We are the class that had embarked on a new journey in our last year of middle school. We were redistricted or found ourselves in a classroom full of people we've never met before. Nevertheless, we made our own experiences and made an inclusive and cohesive group of friends. Then again in 9th grade, we were going to a school still in its infancy. We made traditions at football games, pep rallies, and in our clubs and our organizations. We defined our own experience. Throughout high school, we have survived a transition in principals, taking the gateway twice, and even a TB outbreak. As we faced each one of these difficulties, we carried on and made no excuses. We are the class that can take life's calamities in stride. Even when others think we are at our limits, we defy expectations. For proof of this, just look at all the accolades we have received in our brief period here at Discovery. We outperformed county expectations on almost every standardized test. Our cheerleaders outperformed expectations when they placed at region competitions. Our student council outperformed when we became district representatives. Our basketball team outperformed when we became back-to-back region champs. And so much more. We will not let a zip code, a label, or expectation define us. Even as we move forward with the most recent pandemic, we've made the most of it. We've made our Zoom calls lively by changing our backgrounds. We've mastered new skills, whether it was a TikTok dance or oil painting. And we had FaceTime parties and dead group chats got revived. As I think about our class, I am optimistic for the future. I can't wait to see what all my peers do next. I can't wait to turn on the news and think, oh my God, I went to high school with them. That's the thing about the class of 2020. We're a class with vision. That vision might not be the ability to see into the future, but it is the ability to stay focused on our goals no matter what comes our way. As we move on, we will forever be remembered by the experiences we've had. We will go on to our separate ways and start new chapters, but we will be forever bonded by what has happened to us. The class of 2020 shares a bond that no other class before us ever could have. The world, and certainly not Discovery, will ever forget us. The past 4 years have been the best in my life, and there's nothing that could take that away from me. Thank you, and congratulations to everyone.
Congratulations, Discovery High School Class of 2020. While our new reality is not what you had planned, it does not have to define you going forward. Immediate plans may be postponed and may look a little different, but never let that deter you from your big picture hopes and dreams. Now more than ever, resilience is needed. Stay the course. We love you, we're proud of you, and we hope to celebrate with you again soon.